I hate this stupid game. I just wanna quit already. But I can't. And the same goes for you as well. So come, let's now discuss how to escape this shithole. And also thank you for the 275 subs. But before starting, let me show you some outplays first.
Damn!
No one outruns the
Oh shit, not good.
So by now, you already can see how powerful Brody is. And we will also include some of the tricks that you can use with him so that you can use it against enemies like this. Can you guess how Mia died? I will mention it later in this video, but if you already know about it, pause the video and do mention it in the comments below. Wait, even if you don't play him or play any MM heroes, you will need to know these tips to at least counter him. I already suspect Brody will surely be nerfed, and at least according to me, he is being too broken. He is considered to be one of the top meta heroes this season, and if you guys think it will be hard to play this hero, don't worry much about it. I have already played more than 47 matches in this season with Brody, and the win rate is 74.5%.
Wow, incredible!
It shows how effective this hero is, especially with the new Emblem talent. You see, I'm an old guy, okay? I'm already 27 years old and my preference of heroes would be something that is easy to play. And since I can play him and be effective in most of the games with him, so will you. Let me start by telling you guys the advantages of using Brody. We all know about this trick that allows Brody to deal maximum damage to the enemies by using his skill 1. This is not new. When you deal damage to minions or heroes, you will be able to stack up his passive. The more stacks you have, the higher the damage you will deal to the enemies when using your basic attack and skills. Though he cannot mark jungle creeps, but still if you align his first skill to the jungle creeps, you will be able to get more marks according to the number of creeps you have in line. And this is where the entry of the core talent, Lethal Ignition, begins.
Have no fear, students. Because I am here.
The passive effect can be easily achieved by Brody by using his basic combo trick. You can mark the enemy with 4 stacks of his passive marks using his skill 1 through the minions, the more the better, and then follow it up using the ultimate to finish the enemy off. Even if the enemy escapes the damage, they will not dare to stay and protect the turret, so you get the upper hand in dealing damage to the enemies. Secondly, Brody's ability scales his damage very fast. You can start dealing enormous damage after making only one item. Like every other hero, it is very essential to get him to level 4 to give him some decent damage output by using his ultimate. But do know that before using the ultimate, you have 4 stacks of your passive on the enemy hero. After meeting these conditions only, I would advise you to use his ultimate. Here are the heroes that Brody can easily counter when you solo them in their lane. Melissa, 1-1, Moskov, Hanabi, Mia, Leslie and Claude get their SS whooped in the early game, but it will also depend on the opponent if they know how to play against him. Now comes the previous question, why did I say he will get nerfed? That is because it is way easier to deal damage using Brody, and the Emblem system did play an important role in making it so. The main damage comes from activating the Lethal Ignition talent passive. And the second trick will be with Blade of Heptasis, and it will be mostly applicable in the late game. You see, to activate the passive of Lethal Ignition, you need to hit the target 3 times. And when you have the passive effect of Blade of Heptasis, you just need to use 2 basic attacks to trigger the Lethal Ignition. And the last thing will be not a trick, rather than a benefit to Brody. Sometimes his slow hit speed does give you some useful benefits. Many a times you will be able to mark the target and move away. This effect actually can make the enemy back off from their lanes and cuddle their turrets or go recall. If they recall, you get the benefit of eating their turret cold or get the creep. And if they still keep kissing their turrets, you can zone them and cut their experience and golds from minions. You can take the example of how I am zoning out Melissa in this video. Now how to counter him. One easy way to counter Brody will be to buy Dreadnought armor in the early game to decrease his damage. This itty bitty item can have a strong impact on reducing the incoming damages because Brody mostly uses his skills to deal damage. But for this you will also have to sacrifice one of your precious item slot, so this will be one drawback too. Now let's come to the main point. Pesky items like the Wind of Nature, Winter Truncheon or Immortality can still counter this ability, and heroes that have complete immune skill like Lancelot and Benedetta can easily counter Brody's ultimate. And from my personal experience, I find it very hard to play him against enemies who have Angela as a support because of the seal effect from her ultimate. And also Faramis can annoy the hell out of you using his ultimate. Also, the Purify spell can greatly help you in removing Brody's passive marks, and Brody's mark can be removed by Diggy's ultimate as well, making the damage from Brody's ultimate almost useless. And the next item will be Dominance Ice. Brody's basic attacks are already slower than every MM you can count, and Dominance Ice makes it even slower. So a combo of both Dominance Ice and the Antiquaries can be a pain in the head. Lolita will always be a nightmare for every MM hero, and same goes for Brody too. You will even be able to counter heroes like Yin, who can be a big threat for MM and mages. Your second skill is enough to block Yin's ultimate, so you can step up and play smart. Here is the build that I normally use with Brody. Depending on the situations or the gameplay, I would like to go for the Warrior Boots or the Tough Boots. Warrior Boots for the defense against high damage dealing physical heroes, and Tough Boots if the enemy has lot of CC heroes and magic damage. Then I prioritize Blade of Hephaestus when I need more penetration, or I go for Endless Battle for true damage and hybrid lifesteal. I try to follow it up with Blade of Despair for more damage when the enemy HP is low. Then lastly I use Rose Gold Meteor and a defense item depending on the majority of the enemy damage. Try him out in the ranks, and don't forget to mention if this trick help you win rank games. Here are some things that you should know before using him. You might usually know that his basic attack and skill gives you movement speed when you hit a target. His passive marks give you 5% extra damage and movement speed per stack. So you get movement speed and extra damage every time you use skills and basic attacks according to the passive marks. But one thing to note, since you cannot mark Creeps, Turtle and Lord, you will not be able to get extra movement speed and damage increase that comes from the passive marks. Next will be something that you can do with his ultimate. You can mark enemies hiding inside bushes with this ability. In fact, this ability will even mark the enemies when using conceal skills. This can be used to check bushes and see if enemies are hiding in there. Don't worry about wasting the ultimate because the cooldown is very low. But to eliminate the enemies using the ultimate, you will have to mark the enemies with your skills. The ultimate alone is not enough to kill the enemies. It barely does any damage. You can think of it as an execute spell. His second skill really helps in getting out of some tough situations. But make sure you don't use it against Khufra. And lastly, I want to thank You Demonal for mentioning my previous video on his community tab. Such a kind guy. I have always looked up to him and his videos. Thank you Demonal for inspiring me to put more effort. I finally reached Mythic with him, and it was hell of a ride. I got really carried in some of my matches, but in most of them, Brody could manage his things out. Lastly, something personal about myself. I am quite new to making videos for myself, and I really want to thank you that you watched the video till the end. If you found this video useful, do leave a word of advice in the comment section. And if you want to see the interactions with Lolita's upcoming revamp, then you can check out this video. Thank you again for being here. Until the next video, Sunbeast signing out.